Hold that thought. Hold that thought. There we go. Hey y'all. Hey y'all. Hey y'all. Happy Wednesday. Happy Wednesday. Welcome to Mission for Mental Health. I am your host, Jackie Robinson. Woo woo. Y'all know I love coming on here. Like I instantly get like a boost of energy every time I jump on this podcast. I don't know what it is about y'all, but for some reason, everyone like I'm just a, oh, look at your girl. Y'all ain't tell you girl her little pieces was all over the place. Look at that. Okay, we good. So, earlier I was like, oh, I'm so tired. I'm so drained. I don't want to do it tonight. But for some reason, as soon as I hit the live button, go live, like I instantly just perk up. I just get excited. I get excited. I love doing this. I love this platform. I love sharing with you guys. And I hope you all enjoy watching what I'm doing here. And I'm just glad that you all are just taking an hour out of your Wednesday to just give it to me. I'm just so blessed and thankful for that. And so I hope you guys like our show today. Our show today is about women veterans. Yes, I brought the women on, y'all. I got the women vets on today, y'all. So I think I'm going to have this. I think this is going to be continuous for a hot minute, and I'll explain to you why in a second. I'm going to bring my guests on so you guys can meet them. And then I want them on screen when I talk about how this came about. So hold on one second. Let me get my guests. Let me add them on to the stream. So first we have Lanice Bell King. And let me unmute her. Make sure she is unmuted. I think you might need to unmute, Lanice. There we go. All right. And then we have Nicole Fisher. So can y'all hear me pretty good?
Hear you perfectly.
Okay, great. Okay. Thank you guys. First off, thank you for jumping on here. Thank you for being a part of my show this evening. I so appreciate it. So I wanted to bring you guys on before I read your bios, because I wanted to let the viewers know how this came about. So how this came about was, every week I always ask, hey, if you would like to be a guest on the show, if you know anyone who would like to be a guest on the show, please let me know. And just so happens that Lanice Bell King says, I got an idea for you. I'm not sure if this is something that you want to do, but I was thinking that you should have an episode talking about women veterans and their mental health. And I was like, absolutely. But since you came up with this idea, I need you to find the guest for me. And sure enough, that is what she did. And what is so funny is that the guest that she finds for me is someone that I have been knowing since, girl, Nicole, how long I've known you? Since what, 2011, 12?
Before that.
Before that. I have been knowing Nicole already. So this was definitely the divine intervention, thanks to Lanice for putting this together. So I mean, it's girl, you did that. Y'all like my shirt? I thought this shirt was appropriate for
Yes.
y'all. You good, sis?
Yes.
Yes. You good, sis?
Yes.
I thought this shirt right here, I was like, this shirt right here is appropriate. Let me see if I can bend my camera a little bit so y'all can see it all night long. You good, sis? Because mental health matters. So thank you guys for coming on. I'm gonna read your bios so these people will know a little bit about you guys. As a matter of fact, why don't y'all do it? Matter of fact, I read them. They're great. You guys have a lot of education, experience, and a lot to say. And so I'm gonna start with you, Lanice. Do you feel nervous to do it, or you want me to do it?
You do it.
I'll do it. Okay. All right. So this is Lanice Bell King, y'all. She at the top. That Lanice right there. That's Lanice. All right. So Lanice Bell King is from Fairfield, California. Is that correct?
Correct.
All right. She's from Fairfield. She a Cali girl, y'all. West Side. Y'all know how I feel about my Cali folks. She grew up in Vallejo. Vallejo, which is Northern California. So sometimes when I say Cali, I gotta let y'all know She is not from the south part of California. She is not from LA. She is from Northern California. So she is from Vallejo. Her military background starts, she didn't put the year, but she was in the United States Army, y'all. She did 8 years of service. Y'all give her some hand claps in the chat for 8 years of service. That is a long time to give to our government. She did 1 deployment to Iraq. She's educated, y'all. This girl has an associate's degree in sociology and human services from Los Medanos College in Pittsburgh, California. She also has a bachelor's degree in sociology and human services at Holy Names University, all up from that Oaktown 357 Get Loose. Yeah, they don't know about that. They don't know about that 357 Get Loose. Hammer hurt them. Hammer don't hurt them. They don't know about that Too Short. Well, they might know about that Too Short.
Everybody knows Too Short.
Right. And then she also has a master's degree, y'all, in social work with the emphasis on marriage, family, and therapy. She got that from North Central University. She is a giver, you all. She gives a lot of her time because she is a part of several nonprofits. She does the Mission Continues, which is a women's veterans leadership program. Cohort 5, is that correct?
Yes.
Did I say that right? Sigma Gamma Rho Sorority Incorporated. Oh, sorry, it just slides out sometimes when you say that. She is a part of the iconic Iota Zeta Sigma alumni chapter. She is a part of the Wounded Warrior program. And I want you to talk about that tonight too, if you can. Because we've all seen the commercials, right, on the Wounded Warrior program. So we want to know a little bit more about that. The American Association of University Women, Atlanta VA Healthcare System, Center for Development and Civic Engagement and Mental Health Council. You definitely got to talk about that. And Keys to Progress. Progressive insurance recipients only choose 2 veterans in the state of Georgia to receive a donated vehicle from a major charity. That's right. When I first met you, you just got a car. The VA, right? Is it
Actually, no, it was Progressive Insurance has this program called Keys to Progress. And what they do in November of every year, they award a donated vehicle to a veteran or an entrepreneur veteran. So
Right.
yes, it's a blessing that this program has been going strong for the last 10 years.
Yes, that's amazing. So she riding free, y'all. She's riding free. And so yes, so welcome, Lanice. And then let me move to Nicole. I have been knowing Nicole for a very, very, very long time, and I was shocked. That just threw me. That's how sometimes, I get these signs when I'm like, okay, I know I'm doing the right thing, right? I know I'm doing the right thing. I know I really do believe I'm doing the right thing, but sometimes God will throw a little nugget at me to even let me know, you're doing the right thing, right? You finally following the plan that I'm telling you to follow, right? Because I'm hard-headed. You finally following the plan. So he'll give me a little nugget. And then when I talk to you all about, what I want to do, I mean, you guys just jump right in and you just share so much. So Nicole, so let me do this correctly because Nicole, okay, let me read y'all Nicole's bio. She said, I am originally from the beautiful state of New Jersey. As she waves like Miss America. She is born in the U.S. but raised in Guyana. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. She started her journey. I'm just going to read it how she wrote it. Okay. That started my journey to where I am today as a woman and survivor. I joined the U.S. military in 1994, and I am an honorable discharged Army veteran. I raised my beautiful daughter as a single mom. I have worked several logistic jobs in and out of the military. I was always the quiet one, which she was. She was always extremely quiet. She's like one of the ones that's got to I'm peeping the room. I'm peeping the scenery. We don't know what she's thinking, but she peeping. Not always realizing my own power and strength. I have given chances and sold myself short quite often. Listened and trusted many people. Trust was broken in many of my relationships, and I was broken in spirit, but now I call it all joy. Over a decade ago, I really paid attention to my constant voice. My preteen daughter was looking to me to be a woman through my grief, through violence and additional trauma. Quite honestly, the pity too. I had to stop listening to unwise adults and listen to the child. Not those that didn't know, wait a minute, not those that didn't know at all what they were talking about, or those that somewhat had an idea of what they were talking about. My blessing came from my baby girl. I am forever grateful to her. That was the beginning over a decade ago. But from this brand new start, I learned that I can't be bound anymore. I will forever have a testimony. One I never mind sharing, since there is greater in me that one can earthly see. It's like she wrote a poem, y'all. It's like she wrote a poem, right? So I'm gonna start with y'all. Thank you guys again. Once again, thank you for coming. And I am not, I was not in the military. I wanted to go, but I didn't, I didn't go. So I don't really know the military experience. So Lanice, I'm gonna start with you. How was your military experience? You're on mute.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
My military experience actually began when I was a baby. My father served in the United States Air Force. So we did a lot of moving around, and I was just like, I couldn't believe that, I get to go to places far and, and a lot of people, especially my classmates, when we come back from summer, the teacher would ask, "Oh, what did you do this summer?" And it was always me that said, "Oh, I went to Paris. I went to Germany," and they're like, "Oh, whatever." And I was like, "No, seriously, I did."
Right.
So, but I think I wanted to keep the legacy going as of the military, because I have my grandfather served in the Navy, my father of course served in the Air Force, then I had tons of cousins that served in all different branches.
Right.
So it wasn't until probably when I was 27 years old I decided to enlist into the Army. And it was very interesting because before you sign your name on the contract, they do a lot of tests. They do the physical test, and then they do a mental test. So being asked, do you see objects that are not there? Do you hallucinate? They just want to make sure that you're not going to go crazy during basic training and all that.
Right.
So once I was done, I went on to learning about my job. I was a 92 Gulf food specialist, and I had to cook. So there wasn't really any time to do mental checks to, because you had a mission. You were mission essential. So I had to go into work, and a lot of times I would be like on an 8-hour shift. So when you get off, you're tired. You just go to bed, and then you have to wake up at the beginning of the morning. So long days. I didn't really get involved with my mental health until I separated from the military.
Right.
And that's where, a lot of people will ask you those questions, those uncomfortable questions about mental health. Like, Are you addicted to drugs? Are you addicted to alcohol? Are you in a safe environment? So the VA, it does a pretty all right job when it comes down to mental health, but
Mhm.
they really do not spend enough time when it comes to female mental health.
Okay.
Because if you know, the military and the VA system was first directed towards the males, men. So women are like the forgotten entity when it comes
Mhm.
to the military.
Mhm.
So, but that's a little nutshell about mental health and my
Like
experience.
how you got started. Shout out to your dad. My sister was also in the Air Force. She retired. I want to say she did 33 years and she retired as a chief master sergeant. So we got a little bit of military in the family. And so Nicole, how did you start your military journey?
Yes, ma'am. Good evening, everybody. Um, I am from, again, the beautiful state of New Jersey, right? And um, growing up, I was always the oldest child. Well, of course, I'm my mom's oldest child. And in a Caribbean family, uh, especially being a girl, oldest child, I had a lot of responsibility. Um, So I remember doing stuff like, chores and taking care of my baby brother at 8 years old. So I kind of had to grow up kind of fast. And, I wasn't very happy about it, but, from a young age all the way until 18, and the part of New Jersey I'm from is Orange, as in the fruit orange, right next
Mm-hmm.
to East Orange and Newark, the ghetto. That ghetto. So that's all I knew. So from a young age, through all that mess, seeing, um, you know, seeing foolishness, seeing crime, experiencing row houses and trash they just don't want to pick up. And I'm like, man, I got to do something different. I don't have a military background, but at 19 years of age, I said I got to get out of here.
Mm-hmm.
So that started my journey, uh, and I ended up in Fort Jackson, South Carolina. I was
Mm-hmm.
in for a shock of my life at that point. I was like, oh my God, this stuff outside of New Jersey, you know. Um, so it started from there. I went on to do AIT individual training again at Fort Lee, Virginia, and my first duty station was out in Texas. So when I got out to Texas, again coming from my background, I was like, oh my God, this is a whole new world.
Right.
So I was doing everything, some stuff I wasn't supposed to be doing, but I was just, a wilder person compared to the quiet girl working, growing up, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So I met my ex. Well, had my daughter. Met my ex. I'm sorry, met my ex. We got married. I had my daughter, and we soon divorced when she was very young. So um, all of that military lifestyle um, is with me and a small baby. Now, I never deployed, so I didn't have to like leave my child and go overseas or, you know, far across the U.S. or whatever the case was. But I was moving every 2 years, number one. And being in the military, it's not like, 8 to 3 or 9 to 5. Okay, was a lot of long days and long nights, but I did it. But I was mentally very, very frustrated from that.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Very, very. I could have. I'm gonna be honest. Can I be honest, Jackie? I
Please
could have
be
choked.
honest.
I could have choked a few people. That's how bad it was. Um, I could have choked a few people out. It was extremely stressful. And again, my daughter is experiencing all of this, and I know she could pick up on things from, like a young age.
Right.
But we did it. My last duty station before I got out was senior ROTC in New York City. So I was pretty much home.
Mm-hmm.
So at on one end, my daughter, my family was across the bridge because I'm from New Jersey. So that part was taken care of. But then my job itself, like Miss King alluded to, the Army is no joke. And the Army, again, I'm going to be honest, they need to make improvements, and they need to implement them yesterday in regards to mental health, and especially recognizing women. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So my job, I work for all men, and again in a senior ROTC, actually at a school in New York City, they're what you call, if anybody's ever heard this term, far from the flagpole, far away from authority, control. Somebody can can look over them, supervise what they're doing. So they're making up the rules as they go. That's dangerous, extremely dangerous. So I started feeling the tug, the pull, the push, the resistance, in other words. And I'm like, I got to get out of here.
Right.
Because again, I was about to wring some necks, and I actually made threats. I'm not in jail. I did not have a dishonorable discharge, but I made threats. I sure did. I just didn't carry them out. So
let me ask you this. So do they have any type of mental health services available while you're in, or do you have to, or do people just, hey, we just living our life and we just trying to get through this thing, and I'll deal with all this we got going on, all this stress I'm experiencing, I'll just deal with it later. Kind of like, the military is a world, and then outside the military is a world. And oftentimes we just go through life and live life and just are doing our thing until something happens, and then we have to address our mental health. So do you, or if you were, and I know times have probably changed a little bit from when you all were in, and with mental health becoming more, talked about a little bit more. If you wanted to receive some services, would you have been able to do that back then?
That's a hot negative.
Or did you not know?
That's a hot negative, because now remember, these guys are doing what they want to do. Now they're angry. I'm resisting. So they actually looked at disciplinary action before they thought about anything mental health or physical health wise. Right.
Yes.
That is what folks tend to do. So eventually, what happened, since I was stationed in New York, I was able to actually get to a psychiatrist at West Point. I never forget it. And I just broke down to that particular psychiatrist. And from then, I was out processed the military. And, I left with my disability, and I just continued living my life. But it was a shame, because nobody's talking about mental health. So I get out, I'm feeling like, oh my God, what am I going to do now? And I'm out there thinking I'm useless, thinking I'm worthless, and not talking about this big secret, which isn't really a secret. So it took me some years to realize that I shouldn't be embarrassed. I shouldn't be hiding it from anyone. And it was literally about a little over a decade ago, I started actually feeling free, to talk about it. Who cares? Who knows?
Yeah.
So,
yeah. What about you, Lenise? How do you feel about that? Did you feel like while you were there, if you, I'm experiencing some stress and things like that, and I need to talk about it, or did you just live your life and like, let me just get through what I need to get through, and I'll deal with everything else later?
Mental health is not discussed until it becomes a problem. It's under everybody's radar. So it's It's not discussed. It's something that a lot of soldiers have this stigma of saying, why should I talk about what's going on in my life?
Right.
Why? Who's going to really listen to me? Because there are some people that are like, you know what, that's a sign of weakness,
Right.
you know, to talk about what's going on mentally and physically. I will say this, I had some really good people, non-commissioned officers that advocated mental health, advocated just finding an outlet to get rid of, you know, whatever stressor you're going through.
Right.
But the main person I could really say that was in my corner and still is in my corner is my mother.
Right.
My mother advocated a lot.
Was was mom in the military too, or just dad?
She was just she was a Air Force wife.
Air Force wife, yeah.
Yeah. So but you have to say this, when you have a child go into the military, you have to understand what they're going through mentally and physically. And I would have to say that my mom, she knew what I was going through and what I experienced.
Right.
So it's hard to be a woman, a female in the military, because people already have their mind made up. Oh, you're weak. Oh, you're going to be too emotional to make quick decisions.
Emotional, too emotional.
Oh,
Ain't
yes.
that something?
Oh, yes.
You got the nerve to be too emotional.
So you have to put up this mask of what's going on in your military life and what's going on in your private life. And I forgot to mention, while I was serving, I became a mother. So it was kind of like during my pregnancy, they made me rear D, which means you stay back while the whole company deploys. And you're doing all these little oddball jobs. So my first sergeant, and I had a female NCO, and she knew that being a single parent was very hard, you know, and then being a cook, that was extra hard. And she came to me and she was like, okay, the company is about to deploy. What do you want to do? These are your options. You know, you could either separate right now, either you could become rear D, or you could deploy. And I was like, man, that's
when you say separate right now, what's that mean? Like
discharge. You could be honorably discharged. So
just because you're pregnant?
Just because you're a parent, you're going to be a parent. So, you know, it's really sad. And I was like, you know what? The main reason I enlisted into the Army was, you know, for the college benefits, buying a home and all of that. So I had to really pray about it. You know, I didn't have anybody I could really talk to about the choice I was about to make. And so I called my family back in California. I was stationed in Kentucky / Tennessee. And I called them and they were like, bring my grandson, bring my godson, my nephew, my great nephew.
Bring our baby home.
Yes. So unfortunately, I deployed when he was only 5 months old. Ooh. So if you think about it, I'm dealing with postpartum, then I'm dealing with military, and then, you know, trying to get back in shape, because they only give you, well, sometimes they'll give you a certain allotted time to get physically back in shape.
Right.
So that did not happen for me. I deployed to a combat zone, and I'm like, oh my God, you know, I got all these things going on mentally. Absolutely. And unfortunately, I was injured. So when I came home, my mother, and I give all flowers to my mother, she worked for the Department of the VA. So my transition was much easier because she knew what veterans go through. But
Right.
it was very emotional and intentional that I'm the daughter. So my mom, once again, had to step into that role of being the parent and being the advocate and having to worry about what are my stressors,
Mhm.
But one thing is for sure, mental health. She was like, you know what, you need to go and see um, go to the vet center and sit there and talk to, your fellow battle buddies and
Right.
other people that served in the military.
Right.
So mental health it's been with me since 2010. I've been going to my appointments.
Right.
So, but it's really sad that the military doesn't really offer that to the soldiers.
So what do
And
you all what do you do if it's not being offered? What is it? What do you do? Do you build, groups of women together to bond? Do you what do you do? Because one thing I know I've learned since I've been going through my mental health journey, I kind of like to talk with people who kind of have experienced what I've experienced, because even though they can help me with the tools that I need to get better, it's easier when you can talk to someone who can kind of relate. So what do you all do? And Lisa Jones has a comment. She says they do now. So I guess
yes,
she's saying that they do now have services,
yes.
right? So what about the people who didn't get the service a long time ago? Yeah, you got it now, but what about the mother folks? They just running around here trying to figure it out still.
If I can add something,
Yes.
uh, um, I am likely different from a lot of veterans in that I was discharged with a PTSD rating. Again, thanks to that West Point psychiatrist that got the ball rolling for me. I've heard some horror stories since, and I want to believe pretty much all of them, where service members have to prove after the helicopter crash that they were traumatized, or they have to prove after the bomb went off that they were traumatized. They actually have to prove that to a doctor the VA sends us to, for us to get our benefits exam. Only thing I would highly recommend in the in those cases right there is, number one, that service member or former service member needs to be adamant and can't give up. And like Ms. King referenced, it's really nice when we have somebody working on our side. I actually find it a great resource with women veterans, because to me, they've been through so much stuff. We are on it. You know what I mean? And I'd rather
Right.
cling to a woman veteran than a male veteran, because in my head, they like to do that ballroom talking stuff. And I used to, I was here and there, and okay, I don't want to hear all of that. I'd rather meet somebody like Miss King, and we can really have a conversation. But
Right.
that veteran now in a fight for their rights, pretty much, um, they have to be an advocate, probably ultimately for themselves. It's sad, so sad.
That's
Um,
sad that people that serve this country for us, that they have to prove. I don't have to prove anything to receive mental health services, just as a regular citizen. So you telling me that people who serve this country have to prove to somebody that you sent me away from my family.
right,
You sent me away from my family after I gave birth to a child, which
right.
is already traumatic in itself. You
Yeah.
sent me away, you sent me to war, and
Mhm.
then I may not have gotten shot. Okay. That's fine. You can't physically see that, but you can't tell me I didn't experience some trauma. So
Correct.
now I got to prove to you that I experienced. So I have to prove to someone who actually never even went over there them damn selves.
Right. Get statements from, everybody, civilian and non-civilian, doctor's records and all, go through what they call it, rigmarole, all of that. And there's only, well, I would say again, in my case, I was actually discharged with a mental health rating. So I was good. But former service members give up. They give up and they end up destitute. And I
Yes.
hate that to my core when I hear that. All the
Mhm.
stuff and all the talk now, like the young lady mentioned, they're doing a lot of stuff now that they
Yeah.
didn't do. But let me tell you, Jackie, they had to be embarrassed into doing it.
Yes.
They had to be embarrassed into doing it, and that's dead wrong. I saw I was getting my face done about a week and a half ago, and the young lady knew I was a veteran, and she said, well, you guys get all the benefits and this and that. I had to cut her off. I said, ma'am, no disrespect, but this is
Mhm.
one veteran that will always tell you the truth. What they say is different from what they do.
Mm.
And
Mhm.
one thing, and this is slightly going off the subject, but I was stationed at Fort Hood. And anybody in the military know Fort Hood is the hood, the Army. Everything happened up in Fort Hood for some reason. And I will always remember Vanessa. Always remember Vanessa. They took that family through a mess until stuff started coming to light. And that's what happened. That's what happens. Even with the sexual assault allegations through the years, through the decades, as a matter of fact, they had to be embarrassed into doing what they needed to do. So all I gotta ask and just kind of beg people to do, stand by veterans that don't give up on them.
Right.
But at the same time, if it's you and one more person, we're together, make it happen. That's all you need. I'm telling you, eventually they give up because, in essence, they're waiting for you to give up and go, okay, I'm tired.
Yes.
You got to say, I love myself. I love my family. I want my child covered when I'm gone,
Right.
my grandkids covered when
Right.
I'm gone. I'm going to do this. We were adamant about everything else. Getting our nails did, our hair did, our teeth whitened. For what? Be adamant about, what we're going to set forth for generations. And you literally can do that. But it takes one step. And that one step is you. And that's for veteran or non-veteran.
Yeah, absolutely. You do have to advocate for yourself. Now, I can truly wholeheartedly agree with that. You do. People ain't going out just willy-nilly and trying to help. Some people are. Don't get me wrong. There are people out here. There's programs like NAMI and things like that who do go out
Yes.
to do, to help people suffering mental health. But you have to advocate for your own stuff, and that's pretty much with anything, medically and mentally, especially with the military, because I do hear about that all the time. I hear about these things. I don't know much about the VA, because I was never in the military. I have no reason to be there, but I've heard things about the VA and how people are, not receiving the services that they are entitled to as a veteran. Lisa Jones, she wants to get in and do give a different perspective. I'm trying to figure out a way how to add her on. Let's see, she has. I'm trying to figure out a way to add her on because she has a different experience because she currently works at the VA.
Yes.
So I'm seeing if that we can add her on, but we'll keep talking and I'll keep trying to work with her to see if we can at least get her in for maybe the last 15 minutes or so. See if I can add her in. But so since then, so where are you all now with the journey? Where are you now with your journey? And I'll start with you, Lanice. Where are you now with healing. How are we healing? What are we doing?
Okay, my healing consists of volunteering. That's one thing. I love volunteering. I love talking to people, making the connections, networking, and it's kind of funny that my husband and my children do not like going outside with me, because I'll start a conversation with a complete stranger.
Yeah.
So, um, because you never know what a person is struggling with, or what a person wants to share
Right.
with you.
Right.
So my healing is volunteering. Also, I'm a part of a couple of mental health councils. I give my perspective of being a woman veteran, and then I guess another thing is I always look for programs that give veterans a the confidence to
Right.
do things. Um, as you mentioned,
How long have you been doing all this?
whew, wow, I would say since 2015.
Okay.
Yeah. But I want to give a shout out to the Mission Continues. I
Okay.
had a former sorority member. She used to be the platoon sergeant in Sacramento. So
Mm-hmm.
she asked me, hey, come out, and get to know the organization and whatnot. And I loved how they were organized and how they would address each other, because you have a mixed group of civilians, and then you have veterans, and then actual service members. So we were, putting our hands together and getting dirty and all that, and I love that. So when I came to Georgia,
Uh-huh.
I looked to see if there was a platoon. Of course, being in Atlanta, you're always going to find something to do in Atlanta.
Right.
I found a platoon, and the platoon sergeant, he was like, "There's something about you," and I was like, "I'm the problem kid," and he's like, "No, you're not the problem kid. You're very inquisitive."
Right.
So
Yes.
very. So he told me about the Women's Veteran Leadership Program.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, okay, this might be something interesting. And so I did the research, and I loved what they were all about, having women veterans step into the leadership position. And I was like, okay,
Right.
this might be a great thing. So I do a whole lot of things with the Mission Continues, and then
Yeah.
even our sorority, that's another social population that I get to network with
Yes.
different people with different roles and age groups and all that. And I love how the organization um, tells women that are serving or formerly serving, they're like, hey, this might be beneficial to you. So that's my healing. And I do go to therapy, mental
Right.
therapy. I love it. I just don't like the drive that I have to do. But yeah, those are my main two ways of using my mental health.
Sharing your story with people helps a lot. Sharing your story is healing for you. I always say healing is in the conversations. If
Yes.
y'all haven't heard me say that, I need to put that on a shirt. Healing is in the conversations. um One thing you will find, the more that you share and the more that you're doing great, Lenise, because you are definitely one that's out here that talks to everybody. You're not shy by far. And no, she ain't shy by far. She is not the quiet one in the room. She's not the loud one, but she shares and she's open. And you'll find that when you're connecting with people in your groups, and all these programs that you're a part of, and all of these social programs that you're a part of, every time you tell your story, someone can relate to you. And you'll find when you start seeing people saying, you know, dang, I appreciated that. Oh God, I needed that. It's healing for you too. So Nicole, what are you doing for your healing? We know about all the trauma. We don't know about all the trauma. We only got to scratch the surface of what you're going on, because what you mentioned in your bio is profound. You said that your daughter was your inspiration for
Absolutely.
healing. You talked about being feeling pity, that you had your own grief, violence, and additional trauma. And you talked about how your daughter gave you a new start.
Yes, ma'am.
So along with your daughter, what are some of the other things that you do for healing? Let's talk about your daughter and how she helped you first.
Okay. Just to go back just a little bit, the reason I point to my daughter a lot, because again, I was a single mom.
Mm-hmm.
So she was discarded a lot. And it was getting to that point, she had to, you know, kind of tap on me and say, hey, Mom, when am I going to get my mom back? And that hit me real hard coming from my child, my only child. That propelled for me to make a change. I was always still focused on working and paying the bills and all of that stuff right there through the years. But that's why I give my daughter the credit, because I don't think anybody else would have convinced me to slow down. Hey, child, stop, listen, but her. So my story, what I do for healing is slightly different.
Okay.
Because I have a chronic illness also. So I physically can't do too much. I really can't. I can and I can't. I mean, it just depends. So my healing, when I talk about mental health and physical health, with me it's the same. It's got to come together, because when my physical is out of whack, it actually promotes my pain issues.
Correct.
And as a matter of fact, that's a secondary condition to people that have PTSD, that chronic pain, and other stuff going on. So right now, at a stage where I'm learning to slow down, like my daughter told me, acknowledging things and loving myself and taking care of my body. So say, for instance, at nighttime when I get ready to sleep, I just can't get into bed and pop in a movie, because that'll probably keep me up all night.
Yeah.
I have to pay attention to how I wind down for the evening. You know what I mean?
Right.
And of course, when I get up in the morning, how I start my day, including the exercise that I do, and the things I start putting in my body.
Oh.
Through doing stuff like that to help my chronic pain and other issues, it is such a relief for my anxieties, for instance, that I don't have to worry about or be so tense about other stuff going on with my body or around me. So I am in therapy. I've been in therapy for a while. I've actually changed therapists as of January of this year.
Right.
And we do talk. We do a lot of talk therapy, and I like that. I like talking to people. I like talking to my therapist. I like talking to others in the community. I'm not just what they call it, a hermit, whatever. I'm not one of them people, but I know my boundaries. Again, taking care of my mental and physical, because you gotta have boundaries if you're gonna do certain things. So I have boundaries when I deal with people. I talk to people. I socialize with people. I socialize with other veterans. My biggest thing, not now in school, that likely is the plan for the future, but one of my biggest things is hobbies and socializing through fellowship at church.
Yeah.
That is such a relief. And in my particular church, I got such a mix of folks. I got so many numbers. I know who to call for what. I feel good about where I'm at. My hobbies include cooking. I can stay out in the garden all day. I love plants and flowers. I adore nature, other than them little nasty looking frogs and snakes.
Yeah.
But otherwise, I adore nature,
Yeah.
and I take in the sights. I talk to anybody. Don't go into. I have to make a conscious decision sometimes. Don't be going into that conversation in your normal Nicole self, because you might alienate somebody.
Yeah.
But kind of like treat them how I want to be treated.
Yes.
And that begins my nice conversation, and they're helping me and I'm helping them. So those are the simple things that I do. I don't do anything heavy duty. I also, I don't really like to, I think we discussed this the other day, but, you know, I do take medication as well, because it's not necessarily big time chemicals. It's a lot of time hormones that we're lacking as well.
Yeah. Yeah. Because in addition, we're aging.
Yes.
In addition,
Correct.
we're aging. So in addition to your entire military career that you've had a whole life after that too.
Mhm.
And trauma occurs as long as we're alive, right? As long as God is putting breath in our body, we are going to go through some things.
Yes.
And, you know, it all depends on how we handle those things that we're going to go through. But we're going to go through, God going to put us through some stuff, right? He's going to put us through some tests, because he's funny acting like that. You know, when all that is said and done, we get to tell people about it and call it a testimony, right?
Yes.
So we're going to go through some things. So not only are you going through your life experiences as a vet, but then you also are going to go through your life experiences just by aging too. And aging sometimes has an effect on our mental health as well, when that estrogen gets to tripping, right? And we walk around, because y'all don't know that I'm sitting here with a whole fan, right? That I can't turn on because it's gonna block y'all out if I cut it on. Sitting here with a whole look. Don't play with me. With a whole fan. Don't play with me. So that also affects our mental health as well. So I'm glad that you all are finding ways to cope with your mental health and not letting all these experiences consume you and take you completely down a hole that you can't come out of. Being in the military is a whole different world. I mean, like I said, I've never gone myself, but I know tons of people who have. And like I said, I have a sister who was in for 30 years. She's gonna be on the show, but she's a person, like I explained before. She needs her own hour. She don't need to share her hour with nobody, because my sister got a whole lot to say. So she has a 30-year career that she can talk about, 33 if I'm not mistaken, that she can talk about in what she has gone through in the military. So I know a lot of veterans, but you know, the stories that some are horrible. I'm talking about some is coming back with, you know, you went in at 17, 18 years old, 19 years old, never been away from your family. It ain't like going to college, you know, with people hollering and screaming at you. And then when you're done, they're giving you a gun and putting you on a plane and having you jump out that mud and dropping you off in Timbuktu somewhere. And then you might not come back with a limb or something, or you just come back with your all your body parts, but your brain is toe up because of all the things that you saw that you've never seen before. I'm glad that you all are finding a way to heal through everything that you've been through. So I got Lisa on. Lisa, can you hear us?
I can. Can you hear me?
We can hear
Hey,
you.
Lisa.
Hello, beautifuls.
Hey.
Hey.
So
I'm
Lisa,
waving.
I definitely wanted to make sure I included you because I saw you in those comments, and when you said, you know, when I say something, you see, I try to get you to be a guest from the beginning, Lisa. Now,
Yes, ma'am.
just so you all know, out here in this YouTube Facebook world, I did ask Lisa to be a guest tonight. But
Yes,
Lisa,
you did.
She's busy, and so I ain't knocking her hustle because she's busy. If you want to come on camera, you can. If you don't want to come on camera, it's up to you. But I know you said you had a different perspective. But before you give your perspective, go ahead and introduce yourself right quick. Let people know who and what we talking to because they don't know.
Okay.
And share what you want to share.
I appreciate you giving me the opportunity. I'm actually having my hair cut right now. That's why I'm not on camera.
Okay.
But
Because y'all, I wish you could be on camera, y'all. Because when I tell you that silver hair that girl got is fire. When
I'm
I say
trying to get
fire,
fire.
man, that thing is fire. That she got them curls just be popping and pretty. But go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Thank you. So yeah, I served in the Army. I just recently retired, actually July 1st, 2022. And just because everybody has different triggers, I could go on forever. But I've served right at the end of the Vietnam era. So when I joined the Army, probably like you all, I wasn't on earlier, but when I joined the Army back in the 80s, believe it or not, there was no such thing as sexual harassment training. Nobody cared about mental health. It was none of that. So, I experienced that whole time where you just had to hold stuff in, do your job, and make it happen. But I got out for a little while, then I came back in and I decided to stay and make a career out of it. But when I came back in, my last, just to make a long story short, my last 13 years in the Army, I was in recruiting. And if anybody that has ever been in the service let's go back to like late 90s, 2000s, recruiting was very toxic, very, very toxic. And I've been deployed a couple of times, but believe it or not, in recruiting, things would happen. I can tell you things that happen in recruiting you would not believe. And people were afraid to go get help, go to behavioral health, or to go to mental health because that was a matter of your career.
Yes.
If you went to mental health and you said anything, or you made it seem like something's going on with this person, that was a matter of your career. But when I say I had a different perspective, I've seen all sides of that. Times when I had to try to protect myself. I decided I was going to make a career out of the Army, so I can't go to mental health because then I'm going to lose my job and then I'm not going to get promoted and all these different things are going to happen. But toward the end of my career, that's why I had said in the comments, things have completely changed now. And at the end of my career, the opportunities to go to mental health and the encouragement for you to go to mental health, because they're going to have a better soldier if they have a better person. If you're a whole person, you'll be a better soldier, so to speak. And so I had those opportunities. And just to speak on the fact that now I'm working at the VA, so I see a whole lot of different things. I, unfortunately, because I don't think it's very fortunate, like I was saying, there's different triggers. I also have PTSD. I have mental health issues, anxiety, depression, and you all know what I'm talking about. You just have to make it clear. You have to put it out there and make sure you take care of yourself. You're more important than anything. You're more important than yourself, and your mental health is more important than your job. It's more important than the Army. It's more important, all of that. And I fortunately had the opportunity, like I said, toward the end of my career, to have those, what should I call it? Have those opportunities to go to mental health and have the facilities and the opportunities afforded to me.
Yeah.
I do know early on, I can speak on the same thing as you ladies can. Early on, that wasn't there. And then, of course, like I said, I was afraid. I didn't want it to affect my career, especially the job that I was in. Your mind had to be right.
Yes.
Right.
But that's the most important thing. You are more important than anything. And fortunately, now they're getting it right. They're getting it right now. It took a little while. And some of us had to go through some things, but fortunately, they're trying to right their wrongs.
Yes.
Yes, they're trying to right their wrongs.
That's good. And I'm glad that you jumped on, Lisa, and shared that, because we got kids now, and I'm not against the military at all. I mean, even though I didn't, like I said, didn't go myself, but I'm not against going in. It's great to know, and it's a little comforting to know that if my kids do decide to join the military, that if they are experiencing something, that they want a complete soldier, they want a whole soldier. We don't just want somebody who can just carry an M16. We want somebody who's going to carry an M16 and not get out there and cut no fool. So we want to make sure that your mind and your health are all in a line. So I think that that's great that they're starting to do that now and improve. They have, like I said, I still hear stuff on the news, so I know the VA has a lot of improvements to make, just because this world still has a lot of improvements to make when it comes to mental health services. So I'm glad to see it moving forward. You did have a long career in the military, so you are very qualified in speaking on to that. So I'm glad that you jumped on and shared. So, ladies, I appreciate you all. I try not to keep anybody like really, really late. I'm going to look at the last couple comments that we have. Oh, that was from Karen. She said, that's good to hear. Hold on one second. I love to make sure that everyone is heard. Like to make sure that everyone is heard. Each of you ladies have such a beautiful spirit and aura, and don't look like what you are dealing with. That's a part of being a woman. I mean, we are in a mom and everything like that. We're good at masking. The problem is we're good at masking because we shouldn't have to mask. You know what I mean? When people say, I'm glad I don't look like what I've gone through. I don't really know what that means all the time, because I want to look like a little bit of what I've gone through, because I want to be real. I go through stuff. Everybody Lanice, she goes through stuff. Nicole, she goes through stuff. Lisa, she goes through stuff. All y'all in that chat, y'all go through stuff. So I don't mind looking like I've been through something, because guess what? I've been through something, but the key part of that is been through.
Yes.
Been through. So, it's okay to look a little bit like that you've been through something. It just shows that you're genuine and you real. You know what I'm saying? And hold on. Here we go. We got a couple more. Great conversation. Good ladies and sorors. And let's see. And good night. And enjoy the program this evening. Thank you, Miss Beverly.
That's my mama.
I know that's your mama. She definitely put it in the chat. I'm Lanice's mama. So as always, I thank you guys for coming on. And as in every week, I always try to end with letting you all know that healing is in the conversations, you all. I bring people on this show to share their stories, because I know that someone out there can relate, and I always hope that someone can heal. Maybe they grabbed a nugget or two and were able to learn something new and take something with them. If you or anyone that you know would like to be a guest on the show, I would love to have you. Just like how Lanice did, she reached out and was like, hey girl, I got a topic for you. And I just jumped on it. So I'm open to topics and things like that. Anything that you all want to hear. You can always reach out to me on my social media. I was saying reach out to me on my email, but y'all don't like the email. Don't nobody like to email. So y'all, guess what? You can hit me up on my social media. Just jump in my inbox, because I'm on that thing all day long. Well, not all day, most of the day. I'm jumping on and I'm checking messages and things like that. So jump on. You guys can hit me on all my social media platforms at Mission for Mental Health. Next week I will be down at the Capitol. Y'all know how I feel about trying to advocate for mental health, y'all. That is, I didn't ask for this. This is something that God gave me, and I don't have no choice but to do it. I be wanting to do things my way, but he don't let me do it my way no more. So now I do it his way. So, I'll be down at the Capitol next week. So I'm looking forward to that. It's the end of the session. So, yeah, we still learning. But once again, you guys have a great night. Ladies, thank you so much for coming on. And I will see all of you all next Wednesday at 8:00. I have another great guest that was referred to me by Miss Lanice Bell King. I think you all are going to love her. I instantly fell in love with Demetra Winters. So I can't wait for next week. I will see y'all later. Have a good night. Talk to you later. Can you three hold on for 1 second for me? Don't hang up. Look, don't hang up just yet. Stand by. Good night, y'all. Good night.